Tonight on ABC News Live Prime, Heart Full of Hate. Chilling details into the shooter responsible for killing 2 and injuring 18 in that horrific shooting in a Minnesota Catholic school. Police say the suspect fired 116 rounds from a rifle, 3 rounds from a shotgun, his handgun appearing to jam. Investigators saying, quote, the shooter's heart was full of hate. Our Alex Perez in Minneapolis. The director for the Centers for Disease Control refusing to leave her post, even after the White House says it fired her less than a month on the job, sparking a walkout at the CDC. We'll tell you her message for the president. Going into one of the busiest travel weekends of the year, new trouble at Newark Airport. Air traffic controllers and pilots unable to hear each other clearly, triggering a ground stop, followed by ongoing delays. And heated confrontation at the U.S. Open as American Taylor Townsend and Latvian Jelena Ostapenko get into a face-to-face argument on the court right after Townsend won their second round match. What was behind that argument? And one of the most iconic music producers today dipping his toe into using AI to make new music. We'll talk to Timbaland about this new venture and what it could mean for the music industry and the ethics around it.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is Prime with Linsey Davis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Alex Perez in for Linsey Davis. Thank you so much for streaming with us. And we're going to begin tonight with grief and anger after the horror that played out as school children prayed at their Minneapolis Catholic school Wednesday morning. Tonight, we're getting new video from a parent who raced to the scene. The first images of children running out of the church, many in tears. Older students seen taking the hands of younger ones. Authorities say that they recovered 116 rounds from a rifle at the scene, along with 3 shotgun shells. They're now sifting through evidence, the words and videos that the suspect left behind, reflecting a descent into hate. 2 children died, 15 more were hurt, along with 3 adults in their 80s. And late today, the father of 8-year-old Fletcher Merkel, who was killed, asking that his son be remembered for the person he was and not for the act that ended his life. Alex Perez leads us off once again from Minneapolis tonight.
Hey, Alex, there's been a steady stream of people you can see behind me here stopping by all day to pay their respects here at the church. Investigators today revealing more about the evidence they're looking at.
Where's the shooter? Where's the shooter?
Tonight, the horrifying scene inside that church laid bare. Video taken by a parent who raced to the Annunciation School Church shows students running through the church, cowering, fear on their faces, a boy with his ears covered, one child in a wheelchair. In this shell-shocked community, investigators poring over a mountain of evidence trying to figure out what drove a deranged shooter to slaughter children as they prayed in church.
The shooter was obsessed with the idea of killing children.
Authorities say they recovered 116 rifle rounds at the scene, along with 3 shotgun shells. Do you think along the way maybe some signs or red flags were missed, or?
That is certainly a possibility, but again, we're only 24 hours into this investigation.
A coward decided to take our 8-year-old son Fletcher away from us.
Jesse Merkel's 8-year-old son Fletcher was one of 2 children killed in the shooting. Devastated, the grieving father remembering his little boy.
Fletcher loved his family, friends, fishing, cooking, and any sport that he was allowed to play. While the hole in our hearts and lives will never be filled, I hope that in time our family can find healing.
15 children and 3 parishioners in their 80s were hurt, one hospital treating 8 children. First responders describing harrowing moments of bravery.
I might be saying too much, but we had one kid that covered up another kid and took a shotgun blast to his back and things like that, and they were helping each other out.
ICU nurse Amy Forchas rushed to her job as a pediatric nurse in the same hospital, only to find the unthinkable. So she checks into work going to help to do her job.
That's all. That's exactly how it was.
Without knowing at the time?
Without knowing that one of the patients would be her daughter.
Her daughter, Sophia, is out of surgery, but still in critical condition. Overnight, thousands came out for a vigil, a community forever linked by a shared grief from a senseless attack that has changed the course of so many lives.
How is it that such a terrible tragedy could take place in a place that's the house of God, and the gate of heaven. It's unthinkable.
Authorities searching multiple residences connected to the shooter, finding a months-long descent into madness. A key piece of evidence, a YouTube video that was timed to be seen after the attack was carried out.
The shooter expressed hate towards black people. The shooter expressed hate towards Mexican people. The shooter expressed hate towards Christian people. The shooter expressed hate towards Jewish people. In short, the shooter appeared to hate all of us.
Another video showing the suspect taking a knife and stabbing an image of church pews, and a 4-page letter to the shooter's family warning them of the suspect's plan to kill. The shooter also expressed hatred of President Donald Trump.
There appears to be only one group that the shooter didn't hate. One group of people who the shooter admired. The group were the school shooters and mass murderers that are notorious in this country.
Robin Westman, seen in this yearbook photo obtained by our affiliate KSTP, was a member of the class of 2017 at the very school they attacked. At age 17, they filed documents to change names from Robert to Robin. Those documents were signed by her mother, Mary Grace Westman, who also worked at the school, retiring in 2021. Authorities say the shooter had no criminal history and purchased the rifle, shotgun, and pistol legally.
Alex Perez is again with us from Minneapolis tonight. And Alex, I understand that we're hearing from the family of that other child killed.
Yeah, that's right, Alex. We're hearing from the family of that other young child killed in all of this. That's 10-year-old Harper Moisky. The family in a statement writing, "No family should ever have to endure this kind of pain. We urge our leaders and communities to take meaningful steps to address gun violence and the mental health crisis in this country." Alex?
Alex Perez, thank you. And new fallout tonight after the White House announced the firing of CDC Director Susan Menarez only weeks onto the job. Menarez is refusing to resign, saying that only President Trump himself can fire her. 4 other top officials at the CDC have also resigned. And tonight, a walkout protest at the federal agency. Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce has the latest.
Tonight at the Centers for Disease Control, dozens of workers walking out. 4 top officials resigning in protest after Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. ousted CDC Director Susan Menarez.
We need our leaders above us to believe in CDC and stop saying question the experts.
In his resignation letter, the director of the Immunization Office saying Secretary Kennedy treats the CDC as a tool to generate policies and materials that do not reflect scientific reality.
Raise your right hand.
Kennedy swore Menarez in as the new CDC director just last month.
Susan is an expert in public health.
Kennedy is a known vaccine skeptic. In her confirmation hearing, Menarez defending the scientific consensus.
Vaccines absolutely save lives. And if I'm confirmed as a CDC director, I commit to making sure that we continue to prioritize vaccine availability.
But she clashed with Kennedy, who has moved quickly to overhaul vaccine policy. Just yesterday, the FDA narrowing the scope of people approved for the COVID vaccine this fall to just people over 65 and adults and children at high risk. Her lawyers say she refused to rubber stamp unscientific, reckless directives and fire dedicated health experts.
There were 2 lines. One is that she would never do anything that was illegal, and the other was that she would never do anything that flew in the face of science. And she was being asked to do both of those things.
Tonight, the CDC in turmoil. Menarez says she hasn't resigned, that the only person who can fire her is President Trump, and that she still hasn't heard from him. But the White House insists the president has fired her because she is, quote, not aligned with his mission.
There's a lot of trouble at CDC, and it's going to require getting rid of some people over the long term in order for us to change the institutional culture.
Mary Bruce joins us now from the White House. And Mary, the White House isn't wasting any time tonight in naming an interim director for the CDC.
Yeah, Alex, the White House tonight naming a new replacement to lead the CDC, tapping Kennedy's deputy, Jim O'Neill, to serve as the interim director. He's been Kennedy's number 2 for the past 3 months and has said previously that he supports vaccines, but not government mandates. Alex.
Mary, thank you. And we're joined now by former CDC director under President Obama, Dr. Tom Frieden. He's now the president and CEO of Resolve to Save Lives, a global health organization. Doctor, thank you so much for your time. But listen, a CDC director has never been fired before. And I want to quote the CDC director's predecessor, Mandy Cohen, on this. She says that the weakening of the CDC leaves us all less safe and more vulnerable as a country. Do you agree?
Absolutely. As you say, Alex, this is unprecedented. The CDC director has never been fired before. It is absolutely in the authority of the White House and HHS to set policy. What's not in their authority is to determine truth. And that's what they're trying to do. What we're seeing is the really spread of inaccurate, false, unscientific beliefs and statements that are being used not just to change recommendations, but that could deny life-saving vaccines to half of the children in this country. A program called the Vaccines for Children program has prevented more than 1 million deaths of American kids over the last 30 years, and it's very much at risk today.
Well, and Doctor, we saw dozens of CDC workers walk out today. I'm curious, have you spoken with any of your former colleagues at the CDC? And also, I mean, if so, what are you hearing from them?
I haven't spoken directly. What I do know, the 4 high-level officials who resigned in protest, I know all of them. I have worked with all of them. They're all lifelong scientists dedicated to protecting Americans. This isn't about Democratic or Republican administrations, and it's certainly not about being on board with making America healthier. But you don't make America healthier by ending our programs to stop violence, to stop cancer, to stop heart disease and stroke, to stop tobacco use. And that is what this administration has done. 60 years of vaccine policy are being reversed in 6 months. And although there's been discussion of transparency, we've seen just the opposite, with decisions being announced on social media as opposed to being rigorously debated in the open with open recommendations for what doctors should give their patients.
Well, and it appears that Monarez's ousting is over disagreements over vaccine policy. And RFK Jr. is a well-known vaccine skeptic. If he succeeds in shifting vaccine policy, I mean, what are some of the real-world impacts that everyday Americans might feel?
It's already going to be harder for healthy young people to get COVID vaccines. If the ACIP doesn't recommend a vaccine, that's the vaccine committee that he has turned upside down and appointed anti-vaccine people to that committee. If they don't recommend a vaccine, then half of American children could lose access to that vaccine. And globally, he has spread absolute falsehoods in his announcement of lack of support for the Global Vaccine Alliance that could result in the deaths of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of children around the world. These aren't just words. These are actions, and actions have consequences in the spread of disease.
Well, and the Public Health Association and many others in the profession are calling for RFK Jr.'s resignation. Do you believe that he should resign?
Certainly, the actions that he has taken have made Americans less safe. They've increased the risk of spread of disease. The goals of making America healthier, that's a great goal. Doing that requires real actions and not turning our back on science, spreading falsehoods, undermining agencies, eliminating whole programs that are there to keep Americans safe and healthy.
Dr. Tom Frieden, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook is suing President Trump over his effort to fire her. Cook's lawsuit claims that the president's actions are, quote, illegal and unprecedented. Cook also says that the attempted ousting violates her constitutional right to due process and the Fed's independence. President Trump moved to fire Cook earlier this week over what he says is a criminal referral for mortgage fraud. Cook has not been charged. The case is expected to eventually reach the Supreme Court. And this Thursday night before Labor Day, on what the FAA says is the busiest day of the holiday weekend, there's new trouble at Newark Airport, triggering a ground stop and ongoing delays. Our Morgan Norwood is there with more.
With more than 50,000 flights expected to take to the skies today, the busiest one for the holiday weekend, air traffic control issues forcing a ground stop at Newark Liberty International. Many incoming flights halted for nearly 2 hours as controllers and pilots struggled to hear each other on some radio frequencies.
Is it the COM or the ILS frequencies that are unreliable?
It's our COM. Same old here. Frequencies are no good. There's parts missing. I don't know. They come and go.
The outage occurring at the Philadelphia facility that directs aircraft in and out of Newark. It's the second one in the past day. Betty Bunger telling me she's facing a 2-hour delay.
You know, you can't get yourself upset. It's a holiday weekend. It's a lot of people, lots of crying babies. They're more unhappy than I am.
That same Philadelphia facility plagued by staffing shortages and equipment failures for months. The disruption coming as the FAA expects a record-breaking weekend for air travel, the busiest in 15 years. More than 17 million travelers expected to pass through checkpoints today through Wednesday.
And Morgan joins us now from Newark. And Morgan, the latest communication problem started this morning, but what's the situation like now?
Well, you know, Alex, it couldn't have come at a worse time, and we're still seeing the ripple effect of this communication issue. In fact, average delays here at Newark topping about 2 hours. The agency also says it's having to slow flights by about 20% in order to accommodate for this entire issue. But again, it comes amid one of the busiest holiday travel stretches of the year. Alex?
Morgan Norwood at Newark Airport tonight. Thank you. And joining us to track the latest forecast, WABC Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg. Lee, what can you tell us about the weather heading into this holiday weekend?
Alex, the weather's staying out of most people's ways in terms of travel, although we've had a real nightmare along I-40 today with some heavy rain from Oklahoma into parts of Arkansas. I mean, parts of Little Rock have seen almost 8 inches of rain. There's been flood warnings all afternoon long, and that rain settling to the south, so flood washes from Texas into northern Louisiana, parts of Arkansas as well. That rain starts to shift to the Gulf Coast as we go into the beginning of the weekend. It's wet at times over the southeast and into parts of Florida. Some rain also in the plains, scattered about into parts of the Rockies. The west coast is quiet. We are dry from the Great Lakes into most of the northeast, maybe some showers, Adirondacks and northern New England to start the weekend. The big story there, the below normal temperatures, 5 to 15 degrees below normal, only in the 70s, more of a September feel. And it looks like that cooler than normal temperature pattern goes into next week, but another heat wave could be building in the west. Alex?
Lee Goldberg, thank you. And overseas now, just 2 weeks after President Trump hosted Vladimir Putin at the Alaska summit aimed at achieving a ceasefire in Ukraine, Russia pounded the country overnight with one of the fiercest assaults in the war. An 11-hour barrage on the capital. Hundreds of drones and missiles struck across the country, many hitting civilian targets. Here's Chief International Correspondent James Longman.
The death toll is rising tonight after one of the biggest Russian attacks on Ukraine since the start of the war. This is the moment a Russian missile slammed into a residential neighborhood in Kyiv. Seconds later, another hit. Apartment buildings turned into rubble and ash, seen in videos circulating online. More than 600 drones and missiles fired on multiple targets across the country. This cafe destroyed. Air raid sirens blaring for 11 hours. More than 20 people killed, including 4 children, a 2-year-old among them. This catastrophic attack comes less than 2 weeks after President Trump and Vladimir Putin met in Alaska in an effort to stop the war. But Putin apparently had a different kind of diplomacy in mind. Today, targeting critical buildings that house the European Union's mission in Ukraine, the British Council and other foreign embassies. Tonight, President Zelensky says this was not only a strike on Ukraine, but on Europe and President Trump as well.
And Alex, there are serious doubts tonight about whether that Zelensky-Putin meeting will ever happen, let alone an end to this war. Alex?
James, thank you. And next to a heated confrontation after a second-round match at the U.S. Open and spilled onto social media, drawing fans into the conflict. It all started after Latvia's Jelena Ostapenko lost to American Taylor Townsend. Our Matt Rivers has the rest.
It was the U.S. Open play that sparked a tense showdown. American Taylor Townsend clipping the top of the net, then going on to clinch a win against Jelena Ostapenko of Latvia. Ostapenko telling Townsend to apologize for skimming the net, a lucky break, which, according to tennis etiquette, usually prompts a wave or gesture of apology. After the match, Townsend describing it this way.
It's competition. People get upset when they lose, and you can't. Some people say bad things. She told me I have no class, I have no education, and to see what happens when we get outside the U.S. So I'm looking forward to it.
Later, Townsend was asked if she thought there were racial undertones in Ostapenko's comments.
I didn't take it in that way. But also, that has been a stigma in our community of, being non-educated and all of the things when it's the furthest thing from the truth. And the thing that I'm the most proud of is that I let my racket talk.
Alex, Ostapenko says she's been accused of racism, responding online, writing on her social media in part, "I was never racist in my life and I respect all nations of people in the world. For me, it doesn't matter where you come from." Alex?
All right, Matt, thanks for that. And the CDC is warning Americans tonight about a salmonella outbreak in 14 states linked to recalled eggs. At least 95 people are sick with the bacteria and 18 people have been hospitalized. Officials say the outbreak began in January. Country Eggs has recalled cartons of large brown cage-free sunshine yolk eggs with sell-by dates through September 16th. And Ford is issuing 3 different recalls affecting more than 800,000 of its vehicles, adding to the brand's record-breaking number of recalls this year. The recalls include possible ruptured rear brake hoses on nearly 500,000 models, Lincoln MKXs from 2016 through 2018, and Edge crossover SUVs from 2015 through 2018. Possible faulty airbags on over 100,000 Ranger models from 2024 through 2026, and malfunctioning trailer tail lights on more than 200,000 2025 Aviators and Explorer SUVs. And coming up after the break, gas prices at a 5-year low just in time for tens of millions to hit the road over the Labor Day weekend. We've got the tips to make your travel as smooth as possible. And it's been 20 years since Hurricane Katrina devastated the Gulf Coast. Our Robin Roberts returned to the region to document the recovery after the storm, and we were there for her very personal journey. And Grammy Award-winning artist and producer Timbaland is here, upping his game by embracing AI. Stick around. Welcome back. We've got some good news for people hitting the roads for one last summer getaway this Labor Day weekend. Gas prices are at a 5-year low. Here's a look by the numbers. AAA reports that the average gas price nationwide is down to $3.21 a gallon. That's 15 cents cheaper than this time last year, and the lowest price at the pump since Labor Day of 2020. Overall, gas prices have been falling this year, averaging around $3.15 to $3.20 a gallon. And earlier this week, the average for a gallon of regular hit $3.13. That's a far cry from the all-time high of just over $5 in June of 2022, when the start of Russia's war with Ukraine rocked the market. Now, some are asking if gas prices will fall below $3. It's been more than 4 years since that happened. And as for the last time that gas prices dipped below $1, well, that was in 1998, when the going price wars pushed the national average down to 99 cents a gallon. So as many of us prepare to hit the road for that final summer holiday weekend, we're checking in with AAA's Aixa Diaz for some last-minute tips and insights. And Aixa, it's so good to see you. But I want to start with the road trippers. Every year, we're always trying to figure out how we can beat traffic.
Well, if you want to beat traffic, you want to leave early. The earlier, the better when it comes to traffic during a holiday weekend. Why? Because as the day progresses, traffic builds. So you really want to leave, I'm talking 7 a.m., 8 a.m. You wake up in the morning, the sun comes up, hopefully you've had a good night's rest, and then you hit the road. So preferably any time before lunchtime, and on Saturday before 10 a.m., because Saturday we are expecting between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. to be extra busy, because if people don't want to take off work on Friday, they're going to try to maybe do a trip on Saturday, and that's why traffic will be very busy on Saturday.
All right. Well, and the other thing, a lot of people are going to be flying this holiday weekend, too. TSA says that they are expected to screen a record 17.4 million passengers. But there's a silver lining here for those in the market for airline tickets.
Yeah, so our AAA booking data shows that our members who booked through AAA paid less this Labor Day weekend compared to last. Now, just because prices are cheaper doesn't make them cheap. Take a look, $720 for a nonstop round trip ticket. That's a lot, but it's also to the top destinations. So this is where our members wanted to go. They want to go to Seattle, Orlando, New York City, Miami, Las Vegas, Denver. Those are the top destinations, and you're going to be paying more if you want to go there.
Well, and also, how are hotel and rental car prices looking this holiday?
So those are down as well. So the prices for those domestic hotels and domestic car rentals are down 11% cheaper for hotels and 3% cheaper for rental cars. That's good news. And a lot of times it has to do with demand. Are people wanting to go to these hotels or rent cars? And if not, we start to see those prices coming down. But certainly if you're looking for a last minute deal, there are deals to be had. Just keep in mind, if it's a top destination in a hot place, you're going to be paying more.
All right, AAA's Aixa Diaz, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And coming up after the break, New Orleans marking 20 years since Hurricane Katrina devastated the area. We're with Robin Roberts on her emotional journey back to her Gulf Coast community.
When I arrived early Tuesday morning on the Gulf Coast, I was not prepared to see that type of destruction. I remember how I felt.
And New Orleans native and actor Wendell Pierce reflects on the powerful storm and the recovery still underway all these years later. August 29th, 2005. It's a day that's seared into the memory of Gulf Coast residents. Hurricane Katrina made landfall early that morning with its blustering winds, ceaseless rainfall, and violent storm surge. It obliterated the Gulf Coast and flooded the southern shores of Mississippi and Louisiana, and at the time became one of the most intense hurricanes to hit the United States. It claimed the lives of roughly 1,400 people. And 20 years later, Robin Roberts returns home to the Gulf Coast for a deeply personal look at the region, the resilience and the heartbreak, all on full display. Here's a special sneak peek of Robin's ABC News special, 20 years after the storm.
It's so important for people to realize the long-term effect that a storm like Katrina can have. Even if an area builds back, you still have families who lost their inheritance, if you will. These were homes that their ancestors passed on to them. And so to lose their homes at a time that they could not afford to live and buy in that area now, a place where they used to live and live for generations. There's no discounting the destruction and the pain that New Orleans went through, but the eye of the storm went over the Mississippi Gulf Coast, not far from my home of Pasquishan. Oh my, coming up. I think this is about the football field. Yeah, this is where held graduation. Oh my gosh. I remember we, the class of 1979, know not what the future holds, but we know that we are prepared. I'm salutatorian. That was the crust of my speech. Boy, we sure did not know what the future held. Growing up in Mississippi, we lived through Hurricane Camille in 1969, and you never think it's going to happen again. When I arrived early Tuesday morning on the Gulf Coast, I was not prepared to see that type of destruction. I remember how I felt. Science over there, math over there. It withstood Hurricane Camille, but Katrina got it. Wow. That just, I cannot believe that is the high school. My high school is like an old brick schoolyard. They brought a lot of the memorabilia from the old high school here, our class pictures and that, but it's still, it's kind of, it tugs at you that you don't have your high school. Oh boy. I remember I was going down a lot in the beginning. It was eerily silent. There was no wildlife, no train. And I remember one time my niece, she said, "Things are getting better out, Robin, right?" And I said, "Hun, there's a boat in that tree." During Hurricane Katrina, Michael Kovacevic rescued and gave shelter to almost 30 people. His house was the only one that remained in his neighborhood after the storm. He shares his incredible story.
Michael Kovacevic, born and raised right here on East Biloxi. That's where the water line was. You got 28 feet, and then you got the waves on top. We was the only thing above water. Everything else was underwater. We started pulling people in. When I got to the front door, I had about 10 inches of water around my ankle. And when I looked out that door, on the other side of the wall, the window was a wall of water. The water was over my head. And I said, "Everybody upstairs." And the water kept rising and rising and rising, waiting on somebody to come get us. And everybody thought we was dead until they saw us sitting on the porch. It's sad what 18 hours can do, change your whole life. But you gotta play the cards you dealt, and this is what we got to deal with.
20 years later, Reverend Charles Duplessis shares his story of rebuilding, a journey that took almost 18 years, but his faith never wavered.
I'm senior pastor here at the Mount Nebo Bible Baptist Church in the historic lower ninth ward of our city, New Orleans. The church is about 10 blocks from the levee, and that's where the water came in through there. Our insurance said they couldn't pay us because we didn't have flood insurance, and we had over 100 churches in this immediate area. That's the lower ninth ward. We were coming back because our faith, because we want our community rebuilt. Our home, our sacred place here was all gone. But our faith never wavered. And because of that, we were able to do what we're doing right now, continuing our ministry. My family and the congregation's faith has encouraged my faith to rebuild. It took us to 2022 from 2005. So that was a long time. But we were in the community doing work. Prior to the storm, we had a vibrant congregation, over 120 people, most of them were children. Right now we have about 60 people. I think I have the greatest congregation in the world. Small, but great in the Lord, and in faith, and in their service to one another.
And that service to one another. Our thanks to Robin. And you can watch the whole special tomorrow night from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern on ABC and streaming the next day on Disney Plus and Hulu. And among those helping the city to rebuild, actor and activist Wendell Pierce. First, sir, thank you for your time. He joins us now. But I want to ask you, that date, August 29th, 2005, when Katrina made landfall, what does that date represent to you?
Well, it's a reminder of the people we lost. As we come on this 20th anniversary and to commemorate that day, it's a lot of mixed emotions, and we think about what went right, what went wrong. But I said, I don't want to let these days of commemoration go by without remembering those who lost their lives because of the lack of response, because of the abject poverty, the inability to resource opportunities and to evacuate. And that's the lesson we should learn in these next few days as we commemorate Katrina.
Yeah, certainly. Well, and with that in mind, the images that we see of New Orleans during Katrina, for you and so many members of your community, that's living history. And so I'm curious, what's something that the outsiders still misunderstand about what happened during and after Katrina?
Well, I think everyone really does understand. We have to not allow it to be normalized. there was a abject federal lack of response. The 82nd Airborne is just a few minutes away from here, and they can be anywhere in the world in 48 hours, but yet it was 7 days before they responded to the images you saw on television. And we should actually have a sense of shame as we think about this commemoration, because we left people abandoned and stranded, and people lost their lives because of our ineptness and our apathy at a time of crisis.
Yeah. One of the things that strikes me about New Orleans is that it's a place that has an identity. It has a soul, right? And you know, a lot of that is rooted in neighborhoods like the one you grew up in, Pontchartrain Park. Could you describe that neighborhood for us?
Pontchartrain Park is a great neighborhood I grew up in. It was the result of the civil rights movement, because after World War II and post-World War II America, and especially in the Deep South, there was segregation and Jim Crow laws that told my parents, my father, after fighting for this country, the country that he loved, that was not loving him back, he could not buy a house anywhere that he wanted to. And that neighborhood was at the deepest part of the flooding, and we wanted to make sure it came back. So I put out a clarion call so that we can come back and rebuild it brick by brick, block by block, house by house, and we did that. And now we're on the National Register of Historic Places.
During Katrina, it was smack dab in the middle of The Wire, which was one of your most memorable roles as Bunk Moreland. And I know you went on to star in Treme as well, which a love letter about New Orleans there. But I'm curious, you know, in the height of that, in knowing the historic roots of your community, did you feel, you know, in having that role and having that platform that you had to do something to help rebuild?
When I saw my community destroyed, I knew that I had an opportunity with my platform to give voice to the voiceless, to make sure that we exercised our right of self-determination and rebuilt. There were those who did not have our best interest at heart. There were plans of not bringing back all of these working class and Black neighborhoods. And I am not naive to believe that people didn't do that by design. I made sure that I wasn't going to let my community become a part of history for the wrong reasons, never to be seen again. We became a part of history because we exercised our right as Americans to make sure that our neighborhood was brought back.
Wendell, I appreciate your reflection.
Thank you very much. God bless America.
And coming up after the break, we're talking with Grammy Award-winning artist and producer Timbaland about his talent search for his new label and why humans aren't the only ones making new music. Mortgage prices slipped to another recent low. Pop powerhouse Ariana Grande is bringing Eternal Sunshine to the stage, and the Powerball jackpot swells to the 6th largest prize ever. A look at what's trending in tonight's rundown. The average rate on a 30-year mortgage dropped to a 10-month low, but just barely. The long-term rate dropped from 6.58% to 6.56%. A year ago, the average was 6.35%. Higher mortgage rates have contributed to a slowdown in the housing market as homeowners hold on to the lower rates on loans they took out when mortgage rates were at historic lows. Atlanta's largest newspaper in circulation will stop printing physical papers later this year. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution announced today that they will focus fully on the digital side of their news business. The paper was founded in the years following the Civil War and has been in circulation across Georgia and the South for 157 years. The paper's publisher says that the last print edition will be published on December 31st. Tennis star Daniil Medvedev was fined over $40,000 for his outburst at the U.S. Open. That's just over a third of his total winnings from the tournament. Medvedev became irate after a photographer interrupted the match mid-serve and approached the umpire to voice his frustration that his opponent would get another chance at first serve. Following his loss, Medvedev slammed his racket. He was fined for that as well. The Powerball jackpot has grown to $950 million, the game's 6th largest prize in its history, after there was no jackpot winner in Wednesday's drawing. The jackpot has been growing since May after a California player claimed more than $204 million in prizes. So how much money would a winner actually take home? If there were to be a winner in Saturday's drawing, they could choose between an annuitized prize of $950 million or a lump sum payment of more than $428 million. And a Florida man proved to the world that not all heroes wear capes after he thwarted a burglary and detained a suspect, all while wearing Batman pajamas. According to the Cape Coral Police Department, police responded to a burglary in progress at a home in southeast Cape Coral, but when they arrived on scene, they found the suspect already detained by a man dressed in a Batman onesie. The man was just about to go to sleep when his home security cameras alerted him to someone breaking into his car. Police say that he confronted that suspect and detained him until police arrived.
A corrupt file has been found and corrected.
And Ariana Grande is back on tour for the first time in 7 years. The pop star will perform 4-night runs in Brooklyn and Los Angeles and 5 nights at the O2 Arena in London. This comes hot off the heels of her Oscar-nominated performance in the blockbuster adaptation of Wicked. The Eternal Sunshine Tour is Grande's first tour since 2019's Sweetener World Tour. And from superstars like Missy Elliott, Justin Timberlake, Jay-Z, and Beyonce, producer, rapper, and singer Timbaland has worked with the biggest names in music. But now, after making an undeniable mark on the industry, Timbaland has his eyes set on a new horizon, artificial intelligence, and the role it can have in creating art and music. Our Ashin Singh sat down with Timbaland to talk about the possibilities and the pitfalls.
The multi-platinum, 4-time Grammy Award-winning artist and producer Timbaland burst on the scene with Missy Elliott and Aaliyah in the 1990s. And just a few years ago, was ranked by Billboard staff as the 3rd greatest music producer of the 21st century. He was also inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame last year. He's now breaking more boundaries with Stage Zero, an entertainment conglomerate that plans to use AI in all its endeavors, from music videos to the creation of cyber artists who exist only digitally. Timbaland, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate your time, man. Tell me about Stage Zero, because it's this entertainment platform that's about elevating media, art, culture, all through AI. How's it work?
Well, I wouldn't say it's all through AI. I would say, let me explain something. It's still ran by humans. So I would say it's an 80-20.
And how does it actually work?
80-20 split. 80 human, I'll say 85% human, 15% AI. And AI is just a tool. That's how it works. I'm just taking my expertise on what I know how to do for 30 years and using these tools to help me assist what I always wanted to do, is really create movies, create just different world building, just create a whole nother thing of entertainment to make us to captivate us.
And a part of the record label that comes with Stage Zero, you guys are actually launching your first ever AI-generated artist, Tata.
Well, see, you got to stop saying it's not generated.
Oh, it's not generated. Yeah. No, so okay. So what's the language you should be using?
So like the language you should be using is AI assistant.
AI assistant, but it is not a human. Tata, right?
You'll find out.
Let's take a look at the trailer for her single Glitch X Pulse. How did Tata come to life?
Actually, I was using these tools, creating like different personas and playing with tones. And I was like, and my co-partner Zaid, creative guy, he's a drawer, he's a sketcher, so he was drawing as I was creating music. I'm like, wow, we have the tools to make these things come to life. So I'm like, yo, can we make this girl move to this beat? So we start playing around with it, in these tools.
What do you say to a generation of artists who look at something like Tata and say, this is all wrong? This is what's wrong with the music industry today, and it's taking away our livelihood.
I would say that to a certain degree, because a lot of people are misusing the tool. A lot of people are, but I think what they call it now, AI slop. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but the difference is who's behind the tool, and it's me. So I just won't allow no slop. I mean, you have to have talent. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to be able to play, you have to be able to write, you have to be able to do all these things, but use this to assist what we're doing. Nothing is like, oh, just hit a button to generate. That just, to me, that's just lazy creativity. And that's not really creativity to me.
What's your advice for artists on how to use AI, and should they actually be using AI to elevate their art?
I think you got to be great at what you do. First, master your craft. I really think it should be like, I feel like these tools should be behind a wall, like a certain wall, and you have to pass a certain level of your career to access these tools. I think this particular tool, some people should have it, but I think it shouldn't be for the, for the masses, because that's how it gets discombobulated.
For someone who's been in the game as long as you have, you've reached every mountaintop there is in music already. Why keep pushing the envelope technologically?
I think it's, for me, when this technology came out, it allows me to be a kid again. It allows me I feel like I'm 19 producing again. It's like, it's like an assistant. When I do a beat and I'm like, yo, how would you take these drums and rearrange it this way? And I'm like, oh, I would have never heard it that way. You know what I'm saying? Then I take it back and add on to it. And I'm like, okay, let me just give it back to the program and see what it do. And it's like playing ping pong. It's like, I'm like, oh, I would have. Then I start chopping it up and piecing it together. And it's still, it's my body of work. I can't rely on it to give me the work. I have to feed the machine the work.
Timbaland, congrats on Stage 0. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
And that is our show for this hour. I'm Alex Perche. Please stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thank you for streaming with us.